So, good afternoon, my friends. I am Dr. Anita Fowler, and I'm here today with my wonderful dear friend, Khadeejah Grier, all the way from California. And she's still in
Yay.
California, of course, and I'm in Virginia.
Yes,
And California, where we got our great Vice President, Kamala Harris.
yes.
And we're excited about that journey. And today, I wanted to, in honor of Women's History Month, I wanted to do something where I could just spend time with those who I've journeyed with from a young age. And regardless where the miles have taken us and how much distance was between us, we were able to still stay connected. You know how they say, doesn't matter how long you've been apart, when you
Doesn't
connect,
matter.
it's like you never left, you know?
That's right.
That's the kind of friendship we have today with my friend Khadeejah. So, Khadeejah, how have you been and what are you doing? And your energy has always been contagious. And so I'm hoping today that is exactly what we get. People get to understand why the love is so real.
Right. So I appreciate that. Love is not just real, it's mutual, it's eternal. So I got you. I know that you got me. So I appreciate that. I am Khadeejah Grier. I wear so many hats. So you said, what am I doing right now? I'm chilling. Okay. I'm resting. I was speaking to you earlier, telling you that I'm purposefully seeking places of just rest, relaxation, peace, moving away from the thick of things. And of you know, your call is what it is. So I keep getting pulled back in. It's like a magnetism.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
right.
it's your fabric, your DNA.
Right. So I am from California, like Arnita. Excuse me, Dr. Fowler mentioned. Uh,
Listen.
Girl, you earned that. Come on. You earned that. You better
And that's the
receive
main
it.
reason why it shows there because I still feel the pain from it. I still have
I
not
can imagine.
recuperated.
I can imagine. That's why I don't have a DR in front of my name or no other letters after it. Okay.
But we'll talk about how we got here.
Right. So it has been a journey for me. I did grow up in Oakland, California, to two parents, black Muslims. My mother was affiliated with the Black Panther Party prior to becoming a black Muslim. And I just remember a strong, sturdy foundation, like a
How old were you then?
strong
How old
foundation.
were you then?
I was, I mean, born, just being born into it. I was born
Okay,
into black. My parents were Muslim before I
okay,
was born. My
okay.
mom, she converted at 18. My dad converted at 18. He's actually 10 years older than my mom. And so, we had, I was just always inundated. I went to Muslim private school. My whole community was Islamic, and in Oakland, California, there's a little bit of everybody there. And so you can always find your community and feel welcome and feel free. And so I've always had that sense of knowing and that
Knowing,
sense of I belong here and
yeah.
I should be here and it's safe here.
Didn't know anything else.
No, no. I mean, all of the rest of my family, cousins, all the peripheral families, cousins, aunts, they were all Christians. And so
Okay.
we may go to a Christian musical or some type of church play or something with an aunt who wanted to take us or something. But that was the crux of it. Yeah.
Well, I think being aware of your social location uh, helps to speak to who you are today as a woman, right?
Very
Now,
much so.
and so one of the questions I would one of the things I'd like to know is, having come from a Muslim background, how did your maturity in faith help you to transition over into or influence or benefit you or help you to cross those challenges with ease into Christianity?
Yeah. So, Islam is an Abrahamic religion, right? And so you have the foundation of God, one God. You have the foundation of Jesus, although Jesus is considered a prophet in Islam, but you have the foundation of Jesus being this huge powerhead, this huge prophet that brings the truth, speaks the truth. You have the foundation of God's love, His grace, His mercy. We have the foundation of faith, right? And so many of these traditions cross one another. You have the foundation of the law, right, which is
Okay.
what all of that is built upon. And so transitioning from the Lord delivering me to
Ah,
Christianity, there was it seemed seamless. Should I say seamless? Because
okay.
even in the Islamic religion, they're waiting on a savior, just like in Judaism, they're waiting on the savior. Well, Christianity already had the answer. The savior has come. So I
Gotcha.
said, if there's a savior already out there, I need to be saved. Okay.
Well, I think that is interesting. And the reason I say so is that one of the things that we talk about amongst ourselves is being able to tell our story. And when I say amongst ourselves, when we sit in seminary, when we sit in different women's sessions, we have to we find that there are a lot of people without voices, right? We have characters without voices. We have life and incidents without voices.
Yeah.
One voice is stronger than the next or overpower. And my whole objective here in leadership or in transformational leadership is to be able to um, listen as well as to be heard,
Very much.
right? And to tell the story. And so when we talk about telling our story, this is why I think this discussion is so important today, where you get to tell your story, what it is that makes you up, what influences you, and what legacy you're trying to build. Like I know you have children,
Yeah.
and I know that we've all lived experiences, right? We all have lived experiences. And yet, they always say how you react to it, how you respond to your experiences, tell more about your character.
Mhm.
So tell us about what keeps you up, or what makes you get up
Yeah.
every morning and put one foot in front of the other when it comes to telling your story.
Well, I think what makes me get up most mornings, because nothing is consistent, but what makes me get up most mornings is just remembering the sacrifice of my mother. I remember her getting up early and going to bed late. It almost seems like she never slept. I remember my mother working nights but being at our school in the day, all day volunteering. I remember the PTA meetings and all of the organizations that she was a part of, BWAPA, and all the campaigns for politicians that she was a part of, and yet she was still our mother. So I I owe it to my mother to continue on. It is my ancestors and my elders who have shown me how to continue on. I mean, look, honestly, Arnita, when we think about these sacrifices and the things that our foreparents and forefathers went through,
Yes.
what we go through right now is although we go through things, what we go through right now is no comparison, and yet they trotted on. I was telling a friend of mine the other day, my mom had four children, four children as a single woman. Now she was married to my father, but he wanted a harem of women, and my mama was not having that.
Having it.
We come from a long line, come from a matriarchal line. We come from a long line of strong women, and they wasn't having that. Okay. And so, when her marriage at that point dissolved and she separated from my father, we were in private school. My mother bought her own home. We went on vacations. We traveled. We went to the ocean. We were dressed well. I mean, our meals were elaborate. My mom always made a fresh dessert every evening. Like she was just like the Stepford mom. And at the same time, she was beating back oppression from the patriarchal system. So for me to throw that to the wind and say, you know what? Instead of me doing the best by my children, I'm gonna go get this Gucci bag. I'm gonna buy these Louis Vuitton shoes. I'm gonna go get this instead of investing that. Although she could have got it then, and we could get it now. I'm able to channel all of that hurt, pain, frustration, and hope and faith into the things that I do now, and that is just a continuum of the legacy of standing, of moving forward, and it's a legacy of progress. It's what we do as Black women, and it's who we are as Black women.
And you have always been outspoken. You have always just kept it real. And it's always been positive. It was never a defensive either. It was just like you just said, this is why we do and why you do what you do, how you
Mhm.
respond to situations. It is a strength. For me, it is the strength of knowing where our ancestors came from.
Yes,
It is
ma'am.
the strength. It gives me strength to reflect back and to realize when I look at today, and I look at the fact that what was going on then, I go, if they could do it, surely we could do it,
Very
right?
much.
And so that's kind of where I am. And so when it comes to telling our story, I think it's important that we tell a story, mainly because, and I didn't wake up with this bright idea. It took a traumatic experience in my life, even though I was walking in faith, even though you couldn't tell me nothing different. I mean, I was never a doubting Thomas, right?
Right.
When I was in from a young age.
Yeah.
And it took a traumatic experience for God to instill into my spirit and for my spirit to be awakening with the fact that telling our story does several things. One, it gives me the opportunity to tell the narrative the way it happened, tell my truth, as
Yes.
opposed to someone else speaking for us, right? Because who has walked in your shoes but you, right?
No one.
And when you're going through traumatic experiences, people want to help you, love them, want to help you. Sometimes they just cannot
Right.
help you, right?
Yeah.
So telling a story helps us to be able to tell the narrative and not the half narrative, and
That's
not
right.
where people choose to start in the narrative, right?
That's
But
right.
it also gives us the chance to be able to leave a legacy of information where our children and our grandchildren and their children can reach back on. And this actually sets an example for them. It gives them a voice. It
Yeah.
gives them what it looks like to have a voice.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people are walking in silence. People be hurting and they're walking in silence.
Yeah.
So that's why. So how has telling your narrative helped your friends and your children to be able to repeat,
Yeah.
reinforce, or encourage you to keep doing it?
Yeah. So, um, just to jump back a little bit, to launch off on how that helps. I remember being a child, and just being so confident, just like I'm saying, having no cares in the world, believing that I can do anything that I wanted to do, anything I set my mind to do, I could do. And because I was the baby girl of the bunch, I was really insulated. And when I say insulated, I didn't know how to sweep until I was 13. I didn't learn how to do that. So I was real insulated. But anything else I could do, you can't tell me a boy could climb a tree higher. He can jump over a fence. This, he can do a wheelie on the bike better. I'm going to do that too. And so when I was in school, in private school, again, it's Islamic private school, I remember we had one male teacher named Dr. Adesanya. This brother was bad. He knew his stuff. He was on his stuff. He was sharp, and he demanded nothing less than excellence. And I remember when we would do a afternoon mass or call to prayer. It's called the Adhan. And
Uh-huh.
a man traditionally has to do the Adhan. If there's a man present, a man has to do the Adhan. So Dr. Adesanya was not in that day, who normally would do the call to prayer. And they wanted a student to volunteer. So here I am, straight A's. I'm present. I can do it. I know it. I always thought I could sing, and so let's go ahead and do this. I'm getting straight A's in Arabic, reading it, writing it, and speaking it. So I'm ready. And I presented myself, and they told me that I could not do it. And they brought up another young man to actually do the call to prayer, and that hurt me. That broke my spirit. That let me see that from a different perspective. As women, we sat in the back of the mosque, and we sat in the back, and I never noticed it because that's just where the women sat. It wasn't until that moment, like you said, that point of trauma, that impact of trauma, that caused me to see things a little bit differently. And then from then on, and continuing now today, it is my mission to empower young women and girls and let them know that they can do anything,
anything.
in spite of what someone may tell them. Someone who may be close to them, that love them, may rear them and give them everything they need, but then tell them that they are insufficient in some way. And for them not to take that to heart, that is their inferiority complex, not yours. And so you just keep on trucking forward, you keep on moving forward, and you find someone, a woman who has done what you want to do, and then you identify with that. And guess what? When you cannot find that, you be that.
And that's where that is so powerful. That is so powerful because things people say in our younger age, it's amazing how in any age. Let me just say that because even it happened in my adult age, right? And mostly in my adult age, people have said things to me that I've had to pause. And today I look back and I go, it's a good thing I love Jesus. I have not always been saved. I have not, but I tell you what, I have not. Oh my goodness, it's a good thing I love Jesus. When I think about it today,
Yeah.
and I go, if it had happened now, I would not, I would not have had the strength
Right.
to restrain myself. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Mhm.
And when I think about how many times it has happened, you're right, Pastor
Right.
Rosalind, is that it has been a real occurrence of trauma
Yeah.
over top of trauma each time that has happened. You know why? Because it stayed with me. It
Yeah.
drove my next decision. It helped me to become even stronger, right? So I don't know
Yeah.
if people thought that what they were saying to me, and I grew up in the military, so I always say I grew up in a institutional, a man's world, and
Right.
and I don't know what I was thinking when I joined. I just needed to be able to experience the world. I've always been one, Khadeejah, like you, who said, at the time I joined, 1980, there was always this women not in the military and women this and women that. And and I'm like, okay, I went from wanting to be a nurse to like, I'm joining the military. you know,
Wow, that's a big leap,
it
though.
was a big leap for me. And I
Yeah.
joined at 23, later than what most people would traditionally join. But here's the thing, nobody gave me a handbook going into the military, right?
Right.
So when I think about leadership and the type of leadership I had, I think about how exhausting leadership has been,
Very
right?
much so. It is.
Navigating leadership. And so
Yeah.
when people have said some things to me, and I think back on them now, I just kind of thank God that He had changed my life, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't always walk away. I just did not respond in the way that they were expecting me to respond.
Yeah.
So that's why I say it's exhausting, because I think I must have talked my way through my career. Like,
Wow.
like I'm like, no, if I'm going to do what I need to do and say what I need to say so I can go to sleep and not lose sleep and wake up and still have my dignity.
That's right.
And that's why I think it's important when it comes to transformational leadership is we have to be able to transform others, right?
Right.
And that is so critical. Some people might say that's a long game, but when that's who you are, that's who you are, right?
Period.
That doesn't mean that I'm going to agree with everything, but
Yeah.
I'm going to try to be able to talk to you heart to heart, right?
Yeah.
And to me, that's what transformational leadership is leading with the heart.
Absolutely. Whenever you're a leader, a good leader, diplomacy is a very key asset to have in your toolbox. And especially when you're in a quote unquote man's world or traditional male role, when you're trying to break barriers and break glass ceilings,
Mm,
diplomacy goes a long way. And in layman's term, you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar, right? So,
yes.
and we've been given that as women. Even in the Bible, the word talks about the relationship between Adam and Eve and the influence that she was able to have over him to try something that he
Mm.
had not tried before. In fact, he wasn't even supposed to have it, but she had the influence over him. And that is a power that we as women have. We have influence. And so it's very important that we use that influence, not just for our good, but for the good of other women and people as well.
Well, we are known to be nurturers, right?
Very much so.
I think also though we're known to be protectors too, right?
Yeah.
And we speak up for those who are not able to speak up or want to speak up or who experience it. It doesn't have to be my experience for me to speak up, you know?
Mhm,
And
mhm.
so, but at the risk of being recognized or tagged as the angry black woman.
Well, you know what? You know what? James Baldwin said to be woke is to be angry. So, I used to shy away from that term, angry black woman, but right now I wear it as a badge in that I'm aware of enough to know, and I am angry. It is righteous anger
Angry.
that I have, but we should be angry at the things that come our way and the things that we have been susceptible and left splain open for. We should be angry at ourselves for things that we allow. We should be angry at our men for sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes the lack of protection that is given to us. We should be angry at the patriarchal system of white supremacy, which governs us all. And if they're coming for one, they're coming for all of us. And so we should be angry, and we should fight to overhaul these systems as we're working to build ourselves and be better and renew ourselves. There are things that we have to do at every level to now reconcile this, so that the anger does not persist. But that anger needs to be there until we can be like Jesus and get these tables turned over and drive these thieves out. That's when the anger will cease.
Yeah, I think of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, her saying that says, protest in a way that people will want to join you, right?
Oh, yeah, that's good. That's
And so
good.
I think about that, where normally we were saying, I don't want to be seen, I don't want to be heard, I want to be seen, I don't want to be seen, I want to be heard, right?
Hmm.
And let me just say how this is all relevant. When when I went to start advocating to change the law for missing persons, right?
Hmm.
When my son went missing and they told me, oh, he just out on his wild oat, the response from men versus the response from women and
Hmm.
law enforcement was extremely different,
You
you know. And
Yeah.
if anybody knows a mother who cares, they're going to turn over every stone to
That's right.
find their child, right?
Right.
So, and this went on for 4 years for me, having to fight um, the system that I became to recognize was the system. Now, nobody gave me a handbook on life and said, you're going to run into all these systems. I
Right.
didn't learn that it was a system. All I know is that every day I was getting up, trying to put one foot in front of the other, and I would have some rough days and I would have some great days.
Yeah.
But when it comes to speaking up, when it comes to being heard and telling your story, and when it comes to being persistent, when it
Yeah.
comes to being a strong black woman,
Right.
mess with their children,
Right.
right?
That's
Mess
what
with their
Mama Bear
children.
comes out.
And so
Hmm.
I say that because when I'm in transforming minds and hearts, it's necessary to disrupt systems, right?
Yes.
And people would think that, oh, you're being disruptive, right? No, I am disrupting a system that doesn't work for me, was never
Right.
built for me, and it's working properly as it was designed.
That's
But
right.
you have to be exposed to the situation in order to realize that that's just not a cliche, that it's working as it was designed.
That's
And the
right.
more I thought about that over those 4 years, it gave me strength. It gave me strength to be able to stand on my faith
Hmm.
and believe that God did not bring me this far to lead me. Every day
That's
was
right.
I was preaching a new sermon from a new scripture, right? But all that comes from the word that I had sat in church listening to with my
Right.
great grandmother from the youngest age of 5 as I can remember. We was a Koji church in Portsmouth,
Ooh.
Virginia. I didn't know it was Koji at the time. For me, it was church, right?
It was
And we was
church.
there all day with a little dinner in between. And
Mhm.
so I had to stand on my faith and believe what I believe. Now, this was my test,
Mhm.
was that if I say I believe and I have faith, now this is my test, right?
Yeah.
And so I refused that whatever it looked like day to day, whatever however hard it was day to day, I was going to fight. This was my fight to fight. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I get to tell people that when it comes to transforming hearts and minds, it's being able to speak the truth.
That's
And when my son was missing, everyone, I knew people wanted to help me. I wanted to be helped, but no
yeah.
one could help me but Jesus and the strength of my faith.
That's right.
And I kept going back. I felt like the woman, the widow who kept going back to the judge, right?
Yeah.
I kept showing up. When I wasn't showing up, I was calling, and this was a weekly, daily ritual for me. It
Right.
became a ritual until finally, a new police commissioner came in place, and this is all relevant because you have to be persistent. A persistent widow, you know,
Yes.
it's how I find that we as Black women have to stay on the wall.
Yes, ma'am.
And Dr. Joy always say, you pray on one hand and you fight on the other.
That's right.
You know, so some people don't want to be in the protest. Well, okay, but then you pray. We call
That's
those
right.
praying feet, right?
Right.
And I went from searching for my son to finding my son to changing the law.
Absolutely.
And this is what I mean when it comes to transformation of heart. I had to sit at the table
Yes, ma'am.
of people who didn't agree with me,
Yes, ma'am.
people who didn't see life the way I saw. I didn't live life the way I lived it, but I always want to tell you about your life, you know?
Right. It's
But
crazy.
here's the greatest thing about women in general, regardless of color, is
Mhm.
that when you're a mother, oh, you can touch the heart of a mother.
Yeah.
One mother can touch the heart of another. And so I sat there and I began to explain to them what the situation where we were experiencing. A room of 6 women, four Black and 3 white. We were
Right.
sitting there. And I began to tell them what I was experiencing from the law that was created, that was antiquated. It was old. It was necessary back then, but not necessary now. It's an
Right.
injustice now. It's a system that has got layers to it. And when we left, we were on one accord.
That's right.
And the law was changed. You know, people. I don't think people believe that we would be able to change the law, but until you understand it, you cannot protest and not change policy. Then you would be right back. It'd be rinse, wash, and repeat, or wash, rinse, and repeat all
Right.
over again.
All
So
over.
this is why I think it's important for me to tell my story. And it's not the only story I had, but
Mhm.
it's one that I know that it was about survival.
Very much.
My faith was the difference between me living and me dying, me
Ab-
giving up and me holding on, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, um,
Yeah.
and I shared that to talk about the strength of a Black woman, you know, when
Oof.
and our ancestors, like,
Oof.
um, yeah, I say Black woman
Yes.
because my counterpartner does not go through what I go through, didn't come through what I came through, and not
At
facing
all.
what I'm facing, right?
At all.
And I am mindful of that every day. Now I got some friends, like they got Black friends, I got white friends, okay?
Right.
That don't change who I am.
Ooh, the strength of a Black woman. Do we have
The,
time?
the strength of a Black woman. And you know, and
Mhm.
so here we are today. We got the law changed and now we're going national. But again, it's evident, but it was necessary for me to tell my story.
Yes.
It's necessary for me to share my platform with other Black women like you. Because
Yeah.
we need other Black girls to know that they have a voice, right?
Right.
So my
Absolutely.
voice became a voice for the 2,300 families of the kids who went missing every single day. Who would know that
Right.
2,300 kids would go missing every day, right?
Yeah.
It became such a burning desire of mine that it was harder to do nothing than it was to do something.
Very much so.
You know.
Very much.
So when you walk this journey, uh, what story would you like to leave young Black girls today?
Who the story that I like to leave young Black girls today is that it's okay not to be okay. I think part of the strength of a Black woman is the appearance of having it all together, because we understand vulnerability brings about death. Vulnerability, if we show vulnerability, it's another place to be attacked at. and subsequently we can meet our demise in vulnerable places. But it's okay not to be okay. And the caveat on that is to find a place, a group, a person that it's okay not to be okay with. So am I always okay? No. But when I'm not okay, I have a place where I feel safe enough to be vulnerable at. So we
Mm,
always have to have that space where we can go and cry, we can go and lament, we can go and know that we are being prayed for and watched over, and not doing the nurturing but being nurtured, not doing the feeding but being fed, right? And so for young Black women especially, also everyone's fight is not your fight.
mm,
And I say that because people will tap into your strength. They will see the long suffering and the endurance that our people have had hundreds of years, thousands of years since the beginning of time. And they will tap into that thing and deplete you and use you and abuse you. And you will look up and they will have received their cause will have been met, and you will be two steps back. So everyone's fight is not our fight, and it's okay not to be okay. Those are the things that I think that I would leave with a young Black woman, an older Black woman. And I think the older we get, the more harder we are, because we've taken the bumps and the bruises of the world, and we now have a thicker skin. So I think it's harder for the older generation to show spaces of vulnerability. I don't remember being hugged by my great grandmother. I don't remember her crying over something that was profound, or that the cause was so great that I was able to see, wow, my nanny is crying. This thing hurts her. This thing affects her. This thing angers her. I didn't get that. And so the only thing that I saw was hardness, and
right.
harder,
Yeah.
So it's okay to be not okay, and everybody's fight's not your fight.
I think you're right. It's okay to be vulnerable, but
Very much.
having a space to be vulnerable is very important. Very important. I remember going through life. There was when I was going through the studio with my son. I didn't have any more prayers. I didn't have any more words I could pray. I didn't have any more ask I could ask. And
Yep.
so one, I know people were praying for me, but two is when those moments came, it was all I could do was but to shed tears and to cry. And
So
it is
yeah.
in that moment that I realized that God recognized tears as well, right? Thank God, because things begin to move. He began to, as they say, pull back the sheets, pull back the covers, opening doors that people had closed, right?
Right.
And that's why I'm here today. It's because I saw for myself and experienced for myself what God could do, and loving him was him and him loving me back.
Yep.
Boy, what a power. We look for love all the
My
time,
God.
but loving him and him loving me back uh, is something that I will always stand on and cherish. And so that's why I wanted to be able to have this conversation with someone like you, who I know that, listen, we may not always tell a story. That doesn't mean we don't have a story,
That's
right?
right. That's
But
right.
this here gives us opportunity to even from my granddaughter, who's now 29 years old. Oh, maybe she's 28. I keep getting 1 year off, and she always say, Grandma.
Oh my goodness.
Look, well, she'll be 29 this month.
Bless her heart.
And if I'm wrong, she'll text me, because I'm sure somebody's gonna get the word to
I'm
her.
sure.
But I think it was important for me to tell my narrative, and for me to be involved and be front and center in my situation and in my
Yeah.
traumatic experience, because uh, it was very traumatic internally, but it was only when I was able to respond to it and act to it and be center stage with it.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy, but
No.
it was necessary,
Mhm.
so that her story wasn't just that my dad went missing and that's it. I
Right.
didn't want that to be the eternity of what her life story would be. So I needed to act, and I needed to change the outcome, or I needed to change the narrative. I couldn't change the fact that we did not find him alive as we all would have wanted, but I had to preach myself through that and realize that I need to take this narrative and tell it for what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and at the same time, I needed to be able to let her know that she had a story to tell.
Very much.
That she watched her grandmother take on the court system, the
Yeah.
law enforcement system, and she watched other Black women join her.
That's
And
right.
we get on the road at 6 o'clock in the morning going to advocate, and we came back with results. And so when she knows all that, that has strengthened her and those who she come in contact with. That you don't have to accept the narrative that people tell, right?
That's right. That's
And
right.
that's why today, when it comes to social justice, I know you're on the front line.
I do we have a choice? I mean, as the Bible says, being surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses, right? When you don't have a choice because of what you've been born into and who you've been born to, um, it started very young with my mother being an advocate, like I said, um, and then her putting me in places with other great women, like the Dr. Joy Johnsons, the Elise Coles, the Dr. Arnita Fowlers. You know, her putting me, the Patricia Leaches. Those places have uh, incubated the seed that was already planted.
Yeah.
And so if I were to remove myself from the front line, just happened the other day. Mind you, like I said, I've taken a step back. I'm in my Sabbath
Chilling.
rest
You're
period.
chilling. Yes, Sabbath
I'm
mode.
chilling, right? I'm chilling. I'm in my Sabbath rest period. I'm reading novels. I'm not reading any enrichment book right now. And so I got a call just the other day from a brother in the fight, and he said, "Hey, sis," white brother. He said, "Hey, sis, I got this video of this man getting pummeled by the security guard company, and the company is known to be racist. And I got this video, and I want to send it to you, and I want to know who to get it to. It's not real clear, but I'm sure you can enhance it, and you can get it to the people, and you can help me get this out." And I'm like, "Look, brother, I'm on page 329 of my novel. I'm trying to get to the end, okay?" But you keep being called back to that thing of helping. And Hillary Clinton said it well. And well, she didn't say it, she didn't coin the phrase, but even in her book, She Persists, that is the Black legacy of persisting throughout all the trials and the things that we've gone through, um, having to make sure that people know that Black Lives Matters, starting in our homes,
Homes, yes.
making sure our children know that their lives matter, and that lives that matter look like this. Lives that matter talk like this. Lives that matter walk like this. And even if you don't do this, look like this, talk like this, or walk like this, your life still matters, right? And so I think the well of empowerment and information and knowledge and wisdom that I was around, the Ivitas, just my great grandmother, Mama Dear, just being able to see what two hands can pull together, right? How they're making a dollar out of 15 cents. How
Ah,
can I not be on the front line, right? It again, it is homage, it is honoring that our ancestors and our elders, and overall, God is getting the glory. God will
yes.
always get the glory of anything that I do. And so it's imperative that not only do we remain on the front line, like you said, Arnita, we have to be at that table,
Able.
because it's not enough to be on that
Wait,
picket
wait, wait. Who
line.
was it that said, I'll bring my own chair?
Right. Yes. 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 It's not enough to be on the front line. You have to be at that table. You have to be a voice crying out in the wilderness. And even if nobody listens, you have to continue to tell your truth, because an ear, like you said, that commissioner came. An
Yes.
ear will an ear that is ready to hear will present itself, as long as you continue to tell and be consistent with what the truth is.
Yeah, and it's important to know that God, all things work together for the good of those who are loved and called by the Lord. I
Come
believe
on.
that to my heart. You understand? I believe that. That's why I get up every day, right? If God wakes me up, I have a right to get up and get busy. That
Come
is
on.
exactly how I see it. You know what I mean? Like I
Yes.
have to be the walking testimony every single day, not for everybody else only, but for me to be able
Come
to live.
on.
You know, I'm my own testimony to say, listen, if God wakes me up, then I have to get up and I need to get busy. You know, I need
You
to get
better
up.
say that.
I don't always accomplish everything I wake up to do that day, but guess what? I'm going to touch somebody's life. I want to be a
Yes.
witness for somebody. You know, I want to be somebody's sunshine. I want to, every day I'm going out on that commission. It's not just that one time where you either you get licensed or you go to seminary that's your commission or whatever, or one
Right.
ministry event. No, it is an ongoing daily. I have to get up daily and go out and
Every day.
perform and show up for the Great Commission, should I say?
Right.
Um, you talked about you talked about being who you are,
Hmm.
when knowing what's best for you, right?
Yeah.
Because if we don't, I always say, if we don't talk about and call it what it is, trauma,
Yep.
as trauma, then we won't treat it as trauma,
That's
right?
right.
And so we're treated as just another day.
Yep.
You know, sometimes we can take those cliche words and go, it's just another day's journey. This too, we're past. No, you need to mean this stuff. You know what I
Come
mean?
on.
It's another day's journey for us to be able to be responsible. So I think being responsible is not having to ask permission as a Black woman
Ooh.
to do
Come on.
something. You
We
know what
about
I
to shout up in here today.
mean?
Okay.
You know, and so you know, I live alone, so I get a lot of time to spend a lot of time alone with God, right?
Uh-huh.
And so that is and that's where it comes from, is like not having to ask for permission, because you have your own relationship with God. He speaks to you, the Holy Spirit speaks to you, and the Holy Spirit teaches you and keep you and bring all things back
Come
to
on.
remembrance, right?
Bring
And
that
that's what
word.
has kept me every single day, is those young teachings from my when I was a kid with my great grandmother, but not asking for permission. So can you please just speak to the fact that have refused to ask for permission, or recognize that somebody thought you had to ask for permission? You know, I know people like to call us rebellious and angry Black women. No, we
Mm-mm.
know, we are very clear who we are, and we don't need permission to be a Black woman. That's why I love the author who wrote Eloquent Rage, right?
Yes.
Get a chance to read that book. But go ahead and speak to the fact of not having to ask for permission to be a Black woman.
Yeah, no, there's no, God gave you permission by creating you. If I'm created in the image and the likeness of God, who gonna check me, boo? Like the kids say, who gonna check me? There's not if we wait for permission, we'll never be called. We'll never be accepted. If we wait for permission, we have to move outside of those realms of permission and know that we've already been given admission. We've always
Mm.
already been, the Lord has already brought us into where we're supposed to be. And if I'm here and I have admission, I don't need your permission. So
Ah,
when
girl.
when I look at it in when I look at it in that perspective, as a Black woman, there's not too many places, and this is internal and external. You think about being in the homes, you think about being in the church. I've been to multiple churches where women cannot be in the pulpit. I've been to multiple churches where women are not given certain titles, but they're doing the same work. So the permission is not to be given by man. It is that God has already called you forth to do that. And so just knowing that, like you said, knowing in your knower, right? Because we can believe a thing in our heart and think that it should be so, and I wish that it was, or I hope that, but knowing in your knower that it is clear that this is where I'm supposed to be, this is what I'm called to. Because my grandmother would say, act like you've been here before. When I
Ah,
go into when I go into places, I know that I'm supposed to be there. When I'm in a certain uh, um, when I'm in a certain circle, I can't wait for permission, Arnita. You know we can't wait for permission. We'll be in there with our mouth closed, our arms folded, and we'll leave out with what we came in, which is, just our hope. And we need to have faith in action. Faith without works is dead.
Yeah, yeah.
So I need to be able to honor God. I need to be able to look God in the face. I can't worry about a man who doesn't want me to do a certain thing. I have to be able to look God in the face and say, "Yes, I went and did what you told me to
What you
go
do?
and do." And the permission was already granted. So I'm listening to the Lord when he says, "Well done, my good and faithful servant," and not listening to a man or another woman tell me I need to wait in line. My number's not up yet.
Mm-mm-mm.
Mhm.
Well, I tell you that
There she is.
there is Alvita, our friend there. I want to give a
Yeah.
shout out to Alvita and Mr. Grier over here, and my friend Pickett. I thank you all for listening in. And again, what we're doing today is just being able to give and share platforms,
Yeah,
with each other to have conversation. Listen, we might be 5,000 miles apart, but our heart are still connected.
very much so.
Our experiences are still connected, right?
Yeah.
And we don't have to walk alone, we know that God is with us, but we don't have to walk alone. Our friends are still our friend. And I think it's necessary for us to lift up our voices every day and share our stories, let others tell their story, and knowing that we don't have to ask for permission, right?
Right.
Listen, I know I often say to those who said things to me that just keep smiling, make sure you show up with that smile. Now you're trying to tell me how to show up, right?
Right.
And you tell, oh, well, you're just a loose cannon. Oh, because I'm doing my research for my doctorate. I mean,
My
I've
God.
met some challenges along the way in regards to comments and actions, but you know what? I never had to ask for permission because I always knew whose side I was on and who was on my side. I always knew, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And so it's like that. If you were going to stop me, you should have stopped me back in 1970-ish, somewhere back there when
Okay.
probably didn't know any better, right?
Right.
But you
Right.
trying to stop us now. There's
Thank
no stopping us. You can't do that, right? Um, and I give all honor and glory to our Savior, and I do that because without faith, I would be nowhere. And let's be clear, I'm never not walking in my faith.
That's right.
So that's what I need people to understand. I'm not schizophrenic. You know what I mean?
Right.
Whereas I'm with God on Sunday, but I'm with y'all on Monday through
You can't do
Saturday.
that. Yeah. You can't do that. You can't be double minded, right? There's instability in double
That's
mindedness.
right. And so I think those are the kind of things I'm trying to have discussions about, so that when we come out, we want to be able to influence the new normal that we're walking into. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We want to be able to hit our own reset button. We want to be able to take a Sabbath, you know. And so I feel even stronger and refreshed in the Lent season. I just do,
Yeah.
because I'm mindful of what season this is.
Right.
And for me, it's I believe we're in a hold on season, don't let go season, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because Jesus got crucified for us,
Yep.
and we're in that season where he began to walk those long hours and miles to Golgotha Hill. And so I feel that relationship and that connection, that even in his pain, if
Mm.
we suffer with him.
Yeah. Very much so.
And that's kind of where I am.
And in a practical sense, suffering, not just in a spiritual sense. I think that the Black woman has been so close to, and dare I say, as more close than anyone to the cross of Jesus Christ and what he has to bear than anyone else. When you think about the journey, your personal journey, when I think about your personal journey, and I think about how you persevered, and I think about in the middle of trauma, in the middle of you making changes for the betterment of us all, right? When I think about you climbing the ranks in the military, when they said you can only go this far, and we don't want you to go no further, and no, we can't deploy you on this mission because of something so small and tiny, but you continued. And then I'd see pictures of you on that deployment that they said you couldn't go on, and then going to the graduations, and then going to the retirements, and then hearing that you got your doctorate, and then seeing you excel and you're writing the book. And how dare I, how dare I, Arnita, sit down on my laurels with having only a smidget of the persecution that you have gone through for me not to do anything. I think that is the dishonorable thing to do. And I think that your strength and the strength of my people, my ancestors, those who have reared me, Barbara Newman, the strength of you all is infectious. And we continue, and we have to continue on. And I thank you. I thank you. And I want to give you your flowers now and tell you that I appreciate, I'm serious, Arnita, because you did it with style and grace and class, honey. When I tell you that I don't know anybody who can wear a white blouse, pearls, jeans, and some red patent leather pumps like you, all while fighting the good fight. I appreciate you. You showed us how it's supposed to look, how it's supposed to be done. And you have just been such an amazing beacon of light and hope. And I thank you for sharing your journey with me. And I pray that I can just be a little piece of your legacy, that we can just continue on the fight and continue to make change, productive change, policy changes that affect people in their day to day lives, not just. These superficial, not just tearing down statues and changing names of military bases, but things that will impact people day in and day out in their lives. So I thank you, and I will fight on. I will continue on because of you. So thank you so much.
Well, I think that's why we're so connected. It's because we never know what each other is going through in the moment. We never know. So we could sit here and give each other accolades all day long, but let me just say this, uh, know it or not, is when you're being strong, one of us out here are fighting a battle, and your strength is giving us the strength to is pulling us along,
Yeah.
and so we're kind of always like, today you may be the leader, and
Yeah.
then you fall back when you get tired, and then one of us become the leader, and that's how this 40 something year relationship that we've had.
Ooh, long time.
I was I was laying there trying to count it this morning, and I was like, wait, what year was this? And then Dr. Joy posted a picture of us all in our our garments. I mean, we were so Afrocentric, head wrap, kente cloth wearing. Uh, I mean, so I
Yeah.
think Dr. Joy, we have to give her
Always.
honors too, because she
Always.
introduced us to rites of passage.
Yeah.
She brought us together, and
Yeah.
she's still bringing people together in the clock, all clergies from all over. And
Yeah.
there's no fame or fortune up in here, It
No.
is, we're all on the same journey. And so I think that we can continue to pass the crown. That's why I wanted to name this a session, Pass the Crown. I know I never said it, but pass the crown. It's because God gives me things in my spirit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what He wants me to do with it, but I hold on to it, right?
Yeah.
Because I know He's still speaking.
Yeah.
And in this season, that is really what my word is
Mm-hmm.
that we're in a season of hold on, don't let go.
Yeah.
And that God is still speaking.
Come on.
Wow, because his word, God never missed words. Jesus never missed words. Even on the cross, his words. I mean, they still honor his words today.
Yes.
And I say today, Christ may have died on the cross, but
Mhm.
he's still speaking, right?
That's
And
right.
he's no longer on the cross; he's alive.
That's
And
right.
so that is our foundation.
That's right.
This has been wonderful. I've been looking forward to it. I hate for it to even end.
Oh,
Uh,
we'll do it again.
we'll do it again. And I
Yeah.
know we have another young lady coming from
Ooh,
California that's going to join us. And I know Powerhouse,
power. Rolanda
Rolanda.
Wilkins.
Yes. And so
Yes.
she'll be here on the 25th, I believe it is.
Yes.
Yeah, now should be here next Thursday. And then we'll follow up. Yes, I'm going to switch in and out with men versus women and women versus men, guys. So
Ooh.
give me a chance here.
Oh,
I don't just look at my list. I move it. It's how the Spirit will lead me, and,
yes.
and where we're walking at. And so we're going to have Camille on the 8th.
Oh, that's going to be good. Yeah.
And so and I just love it. I mean, I got so excited with her just in us touching bases. I was like, oh, wait, save all that for the session. Save all
Right.
that for the session.
Yeah, she's in her bag right now. She's in her season right now. She is there. Yes.
Yes, she is, and I'm just like,
Uh,
it just resonates with me. I'm like, whoa, So
yeah.
that's what I meant when it's like the flock of eagles, where there's one would lead and then the other would come back.
Yeah.
Because we need each other in order to, like you said, we have admission. We don't need permission.
That's right.
We don't
That's
need to walk in no labels. Let me tell you, Camille is not walking in any labels.
right.
Okay, she is telling it like it is. I just go, wow, I know her when, and she was like this weird, and I think it's great because then we discover that we do have something to give to this community of
Very
women,
much.
and community of leaders. And so we're going to keep transforming hearts and passing the crown and lifting up the name of Jesus every day.
Amen.
So
Amen.
thank you, Khadeejah. Just hold
Yes.
on as we say goodbye to all my friends. You can always watch this. It will continue to be um, on my Facebook, my YouTube. And Khadeejah, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so they can get a hold of me quite a few places. I am on Facebook at Khadeejah Grier, and that's Grier with the Grier. I am also on Facebook on my business page, KD Grier, Instagram at KD underscore, KD dot Grier. I'm on YouTube at KD Grier Studios, and where me and my husband we run a couple of shows. I do a funny Friday night show called Unapologetic, and then we have a Saturday evening show where it's an exchange of intergenerational couples, and that's called The Exchange. Also, we sell merchandise, T-shirts. Hoodies, sweaters. So they're welcome to visit our page at katygreer.myshopify.com.
Well, I'm going to have you. I think it's all great. I did not know you were doing a show. What you call it? Friday night, what?
It's called Unapologetic on
Oh
Friday.
yeah, I can only imagine just from the name that it's unapologetic.
We have a good old time on Friday night, okay?
Well, you're gonna have to go put in your information
I
onto
will.
my Facebook so that
Yeah,
people can follow you on those stations. It's also I can write it now. If I start writing it now, I'm gonna lose the essence of the
you're
conversation.
good. You're good.
But please do. Thank you once again. And my goodness, anyone who's out there listening, if you have any questions, and we always come back to the conversation. That's why we call it candid conversation. There's no script.
That's right.
There's no hate. Um, there's no lead in. We just kind of touch and love one another. So
That's
thank
right.
you for letting me love on you today. And
Oh,
I thank you for all that you've done. And God bless you. And I look to see you soon.
absolutely. We'll
All
do.
right. Stand by.
All right.